As is the case, always break glass in case of emergency. Amin El-Hassan parachutes in to help us out when Stugotz gets stuck in traffic and has to drive back home, allegedly. Happy to have him here. Oddball is every day except one day, weekdays. It is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You can catch his show every day except Monday with Charlotte Wilder. It's a wild success so far. It's different than most of anything you will find in basketball coverage. I am very happy to have you here today. I mean, thank you for rescuing us once again.
Stugotz got stuck in traffic and turned around and drove home. Is that right?
That's what he said. Yes, he said Waze had him here at 9:55. And I said, do you mean 8:55 when we start? And he said, no, 9:55. And then he turned around. But it could have been for a lacrosse mitzvah. Who knows with him? No one lies more per square inch anywhere in the world than Stugotz.
And he's not that tall, so that's a lot of lying per square inch.
He's pound for pound one of the greatest liars there has ever been. I wanted to ask the group something because we really hyperanalyze the holy hell out of the NFL, and every once in a while, Aaron Rodgers tears his Achilles, and whatever your analysis was before, it all is irrelevant now because they don't have a quarterback. And I suppose it could have been more disastrous and dark comedy funny, but only if it had happened while he was running out with the flag.
Okay, so there you go. So that's where I wanted to land because I heard you guys talk about it the other day, and I said, what would be the absolute funniest? Could there be a funnier situation? Because here's what I said. I said if he had gotten hurt in training camp and out for the year, not as funny. If he had gotten hurt in the fourth quarter of that game, not as funny. If he had gotten hurt on the first play of game 2, not as funny. Game 1, getting hurt, the only way it could have been funnier was either the first snap or running out with the flag. Those are the only two funnier situations. I dare anyone to find someone funnier.
I kind of feel bad over how funny I thought it was, and now my Halloween costume is going to be an Aaron Rodgers in full Jets uniform with an American flag. Wow. But there was something that I saw.
Oh, wait, no, hold on. Don't move off of that. Yes, and full knee to the medical boot.
But then it's not accurate. If you can't have the American flag and the boot.
No,
those are different times.
It doesn't matter.
My Halloween costume going to be you in that hat.
Wow. Everyone found that appallingly funny.
I like the hat.
What is the matter with the hat?
It's because I'm wearing a hat. That's the only reason why.
I've never seen a plain 47 brand hat.
Thank you.
I have no room to talk about people. I have fur on my head, so I'm so sorry.
Stu just said that one time. This is like a month ago. He said, I can't believe no one's ever made fun of me for my fur headband.
It's right there.
You had the first snap, the second snap, the third snap, the fourth snap, and then the fifth snap was his Achilles.
Whoa!
Like, that's the fifth snap that you got. And what Amin
that's a pretty good line.
What Amin is saying is the correct thing. 45 seconds, I think, or was it 75 seconds that his Jets career ended up?
75.
Yeah.
75 seconds. Comedically, if you were trying to figure out a way to not just torture the Jets, because that part of it to me is the micro. The sports part of it is the micro. Hard Knocks mythologizing this guy so that was the highest rated Monday Night Football game ever.
No way.
It was 22.5.
For ESPN, certainly.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say there's no way.
No. Yes, forgive me. For ESPN, 22.5 million people. Looks like sometimes double the number of what Monday Night Football can be. And it was in part because we spent the entire offseason making the Jets matter for that quarterback, for the mythology of let's clean all this up, and also the element of having him as a political symbol, given everything he's done to his image over the last 5 years,
right,
carrying an American flag that has taken another battering when it comes to the image.
But he got hurt after 75 seconds, and ratings aren't just going to take into account your interest heading into it. You have to maintain people's interest. And that number was 99.9% Zach Wilson versus maybe the worst Josh Allen we've seen, certainly for a couple of seasons. I will say, though, there was one time that I stopped laughing, and it got this, the graphic aggregate. everyone knows how hard Sauce Gardner was actively recruiting.
Say it with a New England accent.
Sauce Gardner. Yeah, I don't know why I'm doing that, but everyone knows how much Sauce Gardner wanted Aaron Rodgers on the team, how
it was a cool friendship
him.
To see the age difference between them. It was cool. It seemed like they were obviously close right off the bat.
And out of a movie, you have Sauce Gardner relaying this, and you could see how it would project onto his silver screen. Sauce Gardner goes up to Aaron Rodgers after that injury, and Aaron Rodgers turns to him and says, "I'm sorry, kid."
Oh wow!
I thought it was Garrett Wilson that went back and forth.
I thought it was Garrett as well. I have misunderstood it. I thought it was Garrett as well.
Regardless, I had the same reaction. It could have been either one of their young guys.
Well, it was Garrett Wilson, and I just totally ruined that goosebumpy quote. But either way, I'm sorry, kid. But damn, it was really Garrett Wilson?
Yeah, but Garrett Wilson.
God damn it.
Garrett Wilson without the New England accent, it doesn't hit quite as hard as Sauce Gardner, which you came out with for some reason. Sauce Gardner comes up to him. And why is Aaron Rodgers apologizing to a defense? Right?
Well, because I thought it was his friendship. That's it. Well, then it's not movie worthy.
No, it is movie worthy. I'll tell you why it's movie worthy. Because you're picturing Dennis Quaid in Any Given Sunday, sort of limping through the last stages of his career as the cinema quarterback and just saying to the heartbroken kid whose franchise will also break his heart because it's the Jets and Garrett Wilson has no actual future as long as he's playing for them because they will destroy everything in their path.
In this analogy, does that make Zach Wilson Steamin' Willie Beeman?
They're going to have to go get Joe Flacco to be Steamin' Willie Beeman.
I do... Look, Aaron Rodgers, despite being divisive, I still think of Aaron Rodgers as one of my favorite quarterbacks I ever had the pleasure of watching. And I still am a huge fan of him on the field. And to a lesser degree now than a couple of years ago, him off the field. But I still find him likable. Not as. But I still like the guy, and I'm still a fan of his. And for close to a 40-year-old man, having to deal with that injury in that spot when he himself was excited about the opportunity presented before him, for him to utter the words, "I'm sorry, kid," means that he felt that kind of disappointment. And despite political views and vaccination and all of the things that we find harmful that he's put out there, really felt for the guy after I saw that graphic that I thought was Sauce Gardner.
This is one of the things that I thought of as I have struggled with all sorts of stuff in life examinations, sitting next to my brother's deathbed for a year. What I thought of, because I've watched what has been happening with Aaron Rodgers pretty closely and been confused by some of it, but the public articulations that he has given us of being on a search for, through the darkness, through psychedelics, through relationships, through examining his dysfunctional relationship with his own family. The thing that I thought of is if you're actually looking for the cosmos to give you a message, Aaron, how's that one that you need to get the hell out of football? Like, if you're searching for, please, universe, give me some sign of what I should do while I'm sitting in the darkness, how's this for darkness on what that rehab is going to take and the end of your career feeling like, sorry, kid, I don't want to accept it if I'm him. God, it's so vanaglorious, everything that he's experienced. The quarterback, do you understand that celebrities fawn over the impossibility of what he does for a living? What do you mean Jadeveon Clowney's going to get there in 1.3 seconds? You got to be better than that. Like, people in entertainment, people who watch anything on television are awed by what Aaron Rodgers can do. To be that person in America is to swell with ego, glory, money, and fame, and to have your life distorted by it in a way that 40 makes it feel like a midlife crisis. I got to go to a cabin in darkness to feel something alive, to get answers from the universe, because my life is totally artificial and distorted. I'm surrounded by yes people all the time kissing my ass.
He went to a cabin of solitude to find answers, and he might have found those answers in a medical tent. And I think if someone's midlife crisis, if there was like an HBO scripted series about football and a quarterback was 39 years old, we would say this midlife crisis is too overwritten. It's too unrealistic. But it's been an identity crisis playing out right before our eyes. And this is kind of a heartbreaking end for one of the all-time greats, if it is indeed the end. And look, maybe we were all kind of reconciling with the last few years that we saw of Aaron Rodgers, especially last year where he's getting eliminated before he can even get into the playoffs by Jared Goff. You know, like it's not the same guy. We've seen guys like Patrick Mahomes have roil up excitement in us that we hadn't felt since Aaron Rodgers was doing it at his prime. And now we're seeing, oh man, there's a new person playing it at an even higher level. And by the way, the old person was doing it well into his 40s. He's an alien. You may be not able to muster that very same effort. And it's a heartbreaking end. I don't see how he comes back at 40 years old after his body is telling him this, after, if you want to get a treetop view on it, the cosmos telling him this. I'm sorry, kid, might be the last thing he says on a football field, and that's truly heartbreaking.
I just can't stop imagining Zach Wilson saying, maybe it's not racism, maybe it's placism. A brother has to know his place, right?
You're still on Any Given Sunday?
Willie Beeman.
You just quoted a movie from 22 years ago, a quote that nobody recognizes.
Steeman. Willie Beeman.
Can I take back? I have segments to take back what I said about being grateful for Amin Al-Hassan being here, right?
Oh, tight windows, Dano.
It's too late.
Nice hat. I realize that I am fighting a losing fight when it comes to publicly lamenting what argument culture in sports television has done to dehumanize the athlete. First Take, Undisputed. I know that I'm going to lose, that people want to debate sports. They want the right to debate whatever they want to debate, and they don't care how the athlete feels about the coarsening of stuff. Stephen A. and Skip Bayless didn't invent it, but they made it a hell of a lot worse and louder than anyone else did. And I'm fighting a losing fight, I know in part, because I just saw our entire crew gathered around a television to see if Stephen A. Smith would put the Cowboys in his top 5 power rankings, and all of them gasped when he put them at number 2. But I did see, because I do think those shows suffer from a general lack of authentic laughter, just laughing because people enjoy each other and they enjoy what they're talking about. But I did see what I thought was the cutest moment in the history of First Take yesterday. The cutest moment I've ever seen in the history of that show. It wasn't just that Shannon Sharpe accidentally called Stephen A. Smith Skip again. It's that a Hall of Fame perfectionist who cares very much about doing his crafts well banged on the table and stopped his point, angry at himself for saying Skip instead of Stephen A. And Stephen A. lovingly came to his defense saying, relax, don't worry about what social media says. 54-year-old loud Hall of Famer who's confident. It's okay. You were doing the show 7 years with Skip. It's okay. It was the most authentic moment I've seen in the history of that show that has a lot of contrivances in it, where Stephen A. was just gently telling Shannon, do you know what you're doing for our numbers? We're crushing him. It's okay that you called me Skip. We're killing everybody.
Must be nice. Have a supportive
Yeah, you can
co-host.
call me whatever you want to with them numbers. Sally and Shirley.
Okay, Shirley.
Just not late for supper. I swear to God, if you do that. Where did that come from?
A dad.
Yeah. You can call
sure.
me anything, just not late for supper.
That's a
Do you think
dad.
there was ever someone that was like dared after that? All right, late for supper. And then someone died. Someone was killed because of this.
There were a couple of funny numbers that I saw over the weekend. I told you one of them, that at one point the San Francisco 49ers had 199 yards in the half and the Steelers had 1. There was in another game, in the Rams-Seattle game, I saw that number was even worse. I couldn't believe that the number in the Rams-Seattle game got to Rams had 259 yards in the second half. The Seahawks at one point had 3. But the thing that I wanted to ask you guys about, because injuries in that sport, as I began to say in the Aaron Rodgers segment, derail all of the analysis. Tua has now become a betting favorite with Mahomes to win MVP, and we may be having the conversation next week again about concussions. But I want to ask the audience why we're not having the conversation now about concussions, given that Pickett has had the same problem and the Steelers' offense looked incompetent when on the third play of the game it appeared that Pickett took a hit that was something that can alter brain chemistry at a time that we're still not measuring it very well because football is still trying to figure out how to do some of this stuff. I don't know because I don't trust Pickett. I saw him play professionally at Pittsburgh because he looked like a pro quarterback his senior year.
He was also 27 years old.
He looked like a pro.
Nothing wrong with having an old quarterback at your college.
And last year, they won with the Steelers, at least in part, because Pickett did good enough things for a first-year quarterback. That's always looked like the curve for a first-year quarterback who's good. He's going to struggle. It's going to be difficult. Don't turn the ball over. You don't need to be great. Just, okay, maybe I can believe in you as a franchise player. But what I saw of that game, and it may be the 49ers, they're overwhelming, he appeared short-circuited. The Steelers' offense didn't seem to be working right. What extrapolations am I allowed to make about what happened to his brain?
Well, I'm not exactly sure because it's like I can't diagnose a concussion from my couch either. But what you're talking about is the fact that last year, his rookie season, he had 2 diagnosed concussions, went through the concussion protocol, missed some time with it. And then during this game, there is a clip that, if you want to see it, it's on Twitter, of him getting tackled and his head kind of like hits the turf and bounces up. And people are wondering if afterwards the reason that he played so poorly is because he had a head injury. And Mike Tomlin was asked about it, and he said that Pickett didn't exhibit any signs or symptoms of a concussion, and that he knows they have, spotters who watch out for things like that, and no one said anything. So he just kept playing in the game. And I don't know, Dan. I'm with you. I don't give the NFL in general the benefit of the doubt on concussions and head injuries because they, like we saw last year with Tua and all of the protocols that failed there, it's still a huge problem. But I also can't watch a football game and say, yeah, that guy definitely has a concussion. I know that for sure when he hasn't, according to his coach, showed any symptoms of it.
I'm not actually saying that we should diagnose him. I'm simply telling you that if that happens on the third play to Tua this week, we'll be analyzing it the moment that it happens nationally. It's if those
rightfully so though, contextually.
But I'm saying Pickett contextually to me deserves some of the same things because there were it wasn't just the 2 concussions last year with Pickett. Those are the 2 known concussions, but Pickett was the lesser famous quarterback last year who was going through many of the same things, trying to stay on the field through the pressures of being the franchise quarterback. And if all of the same stuff happens next week where the Dolphins get 1 yard and are blown out after Tua, that happens on the third place, we're all going to be making the diagnosis. We're not going to wait around. If that happens to the Dolphin offense, we will all become scientists again.
Yeah, I know. I honestly think the reason that Kenny Pickett's head injuries last season didn't get as much coverage as Tua's is just because simply he was on a losing team for most of the year. They weren't playing in prime time, and there wasn't a big question mark about whether the protocols were followed after the first one. As far as I'm aware, they followed the protocols, and he sat a couple games out, and then he got a second concussion, and the same thing happened. But the Tua thing happened on national TV. Like, we all saw it happen live. And so, yeah, there was a ton of rightful speculation on it, just like we're rightfully speculating on Kenny Pickett's. Maybe he got injured this past weekend, but,
I don't feel like a lot of people are, though.
I mean, I've seen it all over my Twitter. I also just follow a lot of Steelers accounts that have been talking about it, so it's hard to tell who's talking about what. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to speculate how the NFL treats head injuries no matter who the quarterback is or where they're playing or what time of day they're playing. But when, according to the coach, the player hasn't exhibited any symptoms, like, I don't know what else to say about it.
This sport is so fascinating because we all love it so much that we would always say, like, maybe there's going to be an injury that makes us stop watching it. No, we saw somebody die on Monday Night Football. No, we love it. And just saying, like, the moral thing about how we're morally conflicted makes us feel better about ourselves, but we all play the game. Oh, that's a concussion. And when you're right, you kind of feel good about it. Oh, that's an Achilles. No one congratulated me for diagnosing the torn Achilles by Aaron Rodgers the moment that it happened.
Congrats.
I mean, thank you.
I didn't know a calf muscle could snap. I learned it was a big night for Twitter
See, I
doctors.
knew it right away.
They
Achilles.
saw the snap, they knew.
They were saying ankle. I'm like, it's Achilles. It's an Achilles, and don't try to lie to me with the ankle. It's an Achilles.
Like,
He's
don't get me
Done for
wrong,
the year.
Mike. I analyze and diagnose injuries at home all the time. I'm not going to do it on a national television and radio show, though.
You know, you're not going to admit to it, but
I just
will.
admitted that I did it. Like
Yes.
I literally just did, but I'm not going to.
We
You're
all,
not.
we
You're not
all
gonna
like
do it.
we all like that cocktail game. We do. Super Bowl, someone gets hurt.
ACL.
High
The-
ankle sprain.
The thing about the Kenny Pickett injury though is like that is kind of what happened to Tua for his quote unquote second diagnosed concussion, because like if you remember, the concussion that kept him out of the playoffs was in a game against the Packers where it wasn't diagnosed. He finished the game, everyone thought that he was off, and then 2 days later he said I'm feeling symptoms, and then that's when he was diagnosed with the concussion.
But you mean the second one that was like maybe the third one?
Yeah. The second
Okay.
diagnosed one, because the first one was not diagnosed, but it looked bad on video, so everyone diagnosed as a concussion because he was wobbling. The first diagnosed concussion was the one on Thursday Night Football that everyone saw that was really scary, where his hands did that thing.
Throwing gang signs up.
Yeah. So then the second diagnosed possible third concussion that Tua had last year was in the game again. I think it was on Christmas Day against the Packers, where things just fell apart, and you're like, "What happened here?"
Threw a
Like
bunch of picks.
he's just not that good. And then on the Tuesday after, he checked himself into concussion protocol. So like, I guess one of the troubling things here is that we're just continuing to play even if there's no symptoms. And Kenny Pickett could this week or next week exhibit symptoms, and it could come back to this, but he just played through it.
I tell you who didn't get it right. Ryan Clark, my brother. You have to put the Twitter down. You have had a horrible month. He said as soon as it happened, he broke his ankle. You feel me? We don't have to hear from you on everything, big brother. You feel me? See the play out.
He got it wrong.
You can't say that wearing a knockoff Steelers shirt, Juju.
That's a Steelers shirt?
Wow, coming from I
No,
don't know
I
what
mean,
happened
it's
there.
not a licensed Steelers shirt. It's the logo.
No,
I'm
it's
just
not.
Honoring
saying.
you.
That's a Smetty. That's a Smetty
You're
shirt. It's a Smetty
insulting
logo.
You're right. All right, fair enough.
What are you doing?
Just making a joke. Ryan Clark played for the Steelers, Hall of Famer.
But he went to
wearing
LSU's fake
this-
medical school, and now Miami-Dade College's fake medical school. So I was a lot better at that than him.
Which one was the 201 where Mike McDaniel was like, "Oh, he flew back to me with me on the plane." He
That
sat
was
next
the
to me."
bad
and
one.
watched McGruber.
That was the
yeah.
throwing sets up.
Yeah, Thursday Night Football one. Yeah.
That one. That's why, by the way, that's why people do it with him and not Pickett, because if he got concussed on Sunday, it looks like a regular hit. Oh, that's a bad hit or whatever. But like when I saw Tua doing this, I was like, "Yo, I've never seen that in my life." And that
You said concussion when it happened?
I said, "Man,
Congrats on being right.
he's repping."
Well, it did look like a seizure, but I don't think that all us amateur doctors out here can actually tell you whether every Sunday someone has a worse concussion than that one.
My amateur doctor record's pretty good.
No, this is the thing. Like I talked about this a lot last year with Golick and Smetty. We had Stefania Bell on who talked about concussions with us, and like minor hits can cause more severe concussions than huge hits, which could cause less severe concussions. And there can be a concussion where you don't see symptoms for days. And so that's why when you see a clip on Twitter, like, I don't know, I'm just trying to hedge because I really don't know.
Brain's
that's not
weird.
Something that I can say confidently. It looked bad though, and I think there should be
Yours
scrutiny
especially.
on any time someone gets hit in the head.
Well, I mean, look, I'm one of the most successful fake doctors out there, but there was that one time that I got sued for fake malpractice, and it was when Giannis got hurt in the NBA Finals. I misdiagnosed that one. That one's on me.